mo kí gbogbo ọmọ kóòtù òjíire pátápátá nílé àti lókè òkun ẹ kú dédé àsìkò yìí ẹ̀yin ọmọ aládé ẹ̀yin ènìyàn mi tẹ́ ẹ bá ti rí mi bí eléyìí bó ṣe ń lọ ní ilẹ̀ kóòtù òjíire bó ṣe ń lọ ní ilẹ̀ nàìjíríà òní mo mú wá fún yín ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi ẹ bá mi wo fídíò yìí.
nàìjíríà ò dá nàìjíríà ò dá gbogbo àwọn ọmọ ló ti fẹ́ ya wèrè tán lórí oògùn olóró mímu láyé àtijọ́ tọmọkọ máa ń ṣe burúkú ládùúgbò àwọn màmá kan wà tẹ́pọ́n máa sọ fún wọn pé wo ọmọ ẹ ṣe nǹkan bá ka mọ́bẹ̀ báwọn màmá yẹn ní sìn báyìí nítorí pé kò sí nǹkan kan táwọn gan máa jẹ àwọn ọmọ kéékèèké wọn ti ń fún wọn ní nǹkan tí nàìjíríà bá da tílẹ̀ yorùbá bá da á bẹ̀ látàdúgbò sádùúgbò ni láti àdúgbò kan sádùúgbò ni gbogbo àwọn àgbàlagbà tó ń jó obìnrin tó ń jábí amọ́ ti máa dìde nítorí pé gbogbo àwọn ọmọ pátápátá tó wà nàìjíríà wọn ti fẹ́ ya wèrè tán lórí oògùn olóró mu lórí frustration àìmọye tó ní first class tó ní gbogbo ẹ̀ tí ẹ pé ó fi lọ ń gbọ̀kadà ni àìmọye ọmọ tí màmá àti bàbá tán tí wọ́n invest lórí tó jẹ́ pé ó jáde university jẹ́ pé gbogbo wọn pátápátá ọ̀kadà náà ń gùn ètò ọ̀kadà ti wà frustrated.
orúkọ ẹ ọmọ ọdún mélòó ọmọ ìlú wo ni ẹ kí ló gbé ẹ débí kí ló jí ìgbà wo ló ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ yẹn kí ló sún ẹ débẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ sókè.
iṣẹ́ wo ló ń ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀?
mo ní iṣẹ́ mo ń ṣe bàbá.
níbo ni ṣọ́ọ̀bù ẹ wà tẹ́lẹ̀?
Èkó ni mo ti kọ́
Èkó?
Òṣogbo ni mo ti kọ́ bricklayer.
kí ló wá ṣe lóṣogbo?
wọ́n á kọ́ bricklayer lóṣogbo ni mà.
ìgbà wo ló dóṣogbo?
2023.
ta ló wá kọ́ ẹ bọ́n ṣe ń jalè?
sẹ́ni ẹ̀kan ìgbà tí mo fẹ́ sí nínú ìrọ̀rùn ni mà.
kí ló jí?
port.
ìgbà wo ni ìyàwó ẹ bímọ?
ọdún
oṣù kélòó?
mo fẹ́ bí.
kò wá sówó tó fẹ́ fi ṣèkó mọ́ ló wá lọ jalè ṣó o sọ fún ìyàwó ẹ pé o fẹ́ lọ jalè? báwo níbo ló ti lọ jalè?
sàdọ̀sùn ni mà.
kí ló wá ilé yẹn ṣé wọ́n ń gbé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àbí wọ́n ń gbé bẹ́ẹ̀?
wọ́n gbé bẹ́ẹ̀ akọ mọ́ ṣọ́ọ̀pù ni mà.
o wá lọ kó pàánù bẹ̀.
pọ́ọ̀tù ni mà.
ṣàlàyé bó ṣe jí.
pọ́ọ̀tù ni mà mo gba ẹ̀yìn wọlé ni lẹ̀kùn ẹ̀yìn mo gbà wọlé. lẹ̀kùn ẹ̀yìn alẹ́ ni gbàgbé 30 mo kó.
pọ́ọ̀tì ọbẹ̀ àbí pọ́ọ̀tì rúwò?
àwọn pọ́ọ̀tù kékeré.
mélòó?
mẹ́rin ni mà. mo dẹ̀ ta fáàbò kí ní bọ́ta.
ṣé èèyàn wá tó ẹ ṣèkó mọ àbí tó jí nǹkan mi?
mi ò ní jí nǹkan a kàn sọ ọmọ yẹn lórúkọ pé kọ́kàn bá mi sọ lórúkọ ni mà.
o ti ń jalè tẹ́lẹ̀?
no.
má parọ́.
no ma mo dé station ma mo dé station.
kí lorúkọ ẹ?
Fẹ́mi ni ma. Fẹ́mi what? Adeniyi.
o tó ọmọ ọdún mélòó?
20 years.
school wo ló ń lọ?
mo ti parí school láti time corona yẹn.
ṣe secondary school?
Yes.
o ti wà ní institution? bó làwọn parent ẹ wà?
Kwara State. Only mo there is no daddy there.
ok iṣẹ́ kí ló wá ń ṣe báyìí?
Security.
níbo?
Jar.
jà retí bo?
Ti òkè fẹ́ àmì lọ.
gbà ó ló bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ ń bẹ̀?
ó ti pẹ́ láti last year.
kí ló wá sún ẹ débí?
mo ibi tá a ti so àwọn ọ̀gá ọ̀ sílẹ̀ so opportunity pé ká jáde ká lọ fi ṣiṣẹ́ ìmọ̀ ní salary a lè dúró de salary for time salary tí a ti gbà fún ó ti tọ́ àákàn rí kọjá àṣẹ àwọn ohun rẹ̀ ní ìgbẹ́ àáwò wọn làkàn ló lọ lọ́kàn rẹ̀ ká tẹ̀ fi gbà bí a omi àbójì àkàn lọ ní ìgbà tó dẹ̀ tí wàá di ọjọ́ alẹ́ ìgbà tó gbé adé bíbá ẹni.
ìgbà wo ló bẹ̀rẹ̀ irú yẹn?
mo ṣe kankan bẹ́ẹ̀.
o jalè rí? ìgbà àkọ́kọ́ lélẹ̀.
ló pé kí wọ́n máa mú kan láti kékeré pé bí ara yẹ yàtọ̀ kó dàpọ̀ èèyàn lè níyàn ò jalè rí o èèyàn jalè rí o pé bí a bọ̀ ó pélé bí pé eléyìí tán mú yàn pẹ̀lú.
èló lówó oṣù ẹ?
45.
kí ló jí lélẹ̀ báyìí?
irin ni mo ṣàmà rìn.
Irin èlò ló wá tà.
Àti àtàlù
Ẹ tí
ìlú wà ń
tà
bẹ̀ gan ìgbà tó máa yẹ kàn kọjá náà àwọn owó nìyẹn èmi wá ní láì láti dìfẹ́ǹdì ìgbà tádà ti wà lọ́wọ́ mi mi tá àjọ tá ń bọ̀ láti iṣẹ́ so mo wá fẹ́ dì láti dìfẹ́ǹdì máa yẹ à ń ṣan kò ní.
àṣebó tí màá rí kí ló ń fowó ṣe 45,000 tó ẹ lóṣù.
no mo sẹ́ndì sí mọ́mì mi nìkan ló wà mo sẹ́ndì.
Ìwọ máa ń sẹ́ndì owó sí wọn. So torí ẹ̀ ló ṣe wá rò pé kò tí ń wá nǹkan míì kan.
no èmi gangan mi ò tí ì jẹun bẹ́lá tánù bọ̀ ìtọ́ ẹ̀ ló jẹ́ jíjáde lọ ṣiṣẹ́ bí kan láàárọ̀ iṣẹ́ mi dẹ̀ ti pa ẹ̀rọ dọ́là.
lẹ́yìn sálárì ẹ̀ ọ̀gá ẹ̀ òbí tọ́jú ẹ̀.
owó ti lọ sí èkó tiẹ̀ kò kàn wá pẹ̀ kò kàn ó ṣàṣìṣe ó ṣàgbó oṣù tiẹ̀ kò kàn pẹ̀lú.
orúkọ ẹlẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́sì.
Fẹ́mi.
Ṣé mọ́mí ẹ ti wá mọ̀ pé ó wà níbà?
àánú màá bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n sí ní èkó
Kí ló?
kwara lọ wá sá àsọmọgbọ́ ẹ pé ó kàn bí pé ọ̀sọ̀nù.
fámìlì wo ló wá ti pè kò tí pẹ́ ní bọ́dì.
àwọn tí ì jẹ́ ká ọkàn gbà fóònù.
Kí ló wá fẹ́ kí ìjọba ṣe báyìí?
torí eléyìí jẹ́ alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ tí ọdún mi ò mọ̀ pé gbogbo nǹkan téèyàn máa ń go through lélẹ̀ bọ̀ gbogbo ìdá alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ máa gbà wọ́n ní àkókò púpọ̀ jọ wọ́n kàn pàdọ̀ àfẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ kò ní àní ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ̀ bọ̀ torí mi ò mọ̀ báyìí jókòó sí rírà èmi gan ti sẹ́mi pé nǹkan tó bá máa ṣẹlẹ̀ ní kí happen I swear to God because mo ní bó happen.
Ó mú ògógóró, ó mú gbó, ó mú cocaine, ó mú gbogbo oríṣiríṣi nǹkan kiri ẹ̀dẹ̀ jókòó síbẹ̀ torí pé ọmọ tí yóò máa ṣe irú ẹ̀. Bàbá Bọ́lá Ahmed Tinubu ṣé ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ́jẹ́ sọ fún ẹ̀hún yóò gbèjọ́ Ọlọ́run o èmi ò lè ṣetán láti gbèjọ́ Ọlọ́run ṣùgbọ́n ẹ máa rántí pé nǹkan kan wà tó ń jẹ́ àtúbọ̀tán wà olóbìnrin ẹgbórúkọ wọn tẹ́tẹ̀lẹ̀ láyé àjọ tẹ́pẹ́ ẹgbórúkọ wọn mọ́ orí ọ̀fẹ́ tó lọ́n fi ń kí wálé tẹ́tẹ̀ fi mi kẹ́ mú lò. Bàbá Bọ́lá Ahmed Tinubu ẹ mọ̀ dáadáa o ẹ jẹ́ ìyọ̀gò lójú èmi ọmọ yín Tóyìn ni o Tóyìn squash ọmọ kékeré ọjọ́ yẹn ẹ mọ̀ mí dáadáa o Tóyìn oníkẹ̀ẹ́dé ẹ mọ̀ mí dáadáa ẹsẹ̀ tí ò mọ̀ mí nínú yìí o tó fi múrò àwọn ọmọ kéékèèké báyìí tá àti ìjú tá àjọ ọmọ wọn yín tá à ń sọ̀rọ̀ tá à ń sọ pé kẹ́ ẹ̀ tún Nàìjíríà ṣe ṣọ́ nígbà yẹn náà fúnra yẹn wà lára tó sọ pé tí Nàìjíríà bá dá everybody láti lọ lọ́nà tiẹ̀ ní kálukú láti máa lọ. Bàbá wa Bọ́lá Ahmed Tinubu kò sí nǹkan kan tẹ́ ẹ ṣe dáadáa Nàìjíríà the only thing tí mo ní pẹ́ ẹ lè sẹ́pẹ́ mo sẹ́pẹ́ ẹ ṣe ni pé ẹ̀kọ́ àwọn ọmọ agbèrò wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní láárí àwọn ọmọ gádò ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ṣiṣẹ́ lápá lọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ṣiṣẹ́ lọ́ńdà wọn ẹ̀dẹ̀ jókòó ẹ̀ ń wò nítorí pé ọmọ yóò sí níbẹ̀ ìran yìí kò sí níbẹ̀. Bọ́lá Tinubu Ahmed mi tó pè é lórúkọ o ṣùgbọ́n ẹ má gbàgbé o báwọn orí kan wà pé nígbà tó bá máa dìde àwọn ọmọ kan wà tó bá máa dìde wọ́n á yọ yín lẹ́nu gbogbo yẹn pátápátá tẹ lówó Nàìjíríà yẹn wọ́n á yọ yín lẹ́nu èmi sọ tèmi ni o ṣe má gbà ìbára gan ọmọ tẹrọ bọdìdé lèmi o àbí ẹ má gbàgbé ńgbà yẹn o tèmi náà wà lára tó máa ń look towards tó máa ń look up to yín o ńgbà yẹn o tí mò ń gbá squash èmi Tóyìn mò ń sọ̀rọ̀ Tóyìn oníkẹ̀dé mò ń sọ̀rọ̀ tí mo máa ta márùn bíyàn gidi tá a bá rí yín club tá a bá rí yín gbogbo ẹ̀ ńgbà yẹn ní squash court tá a bá rí yín tí nígbòwẹ̀ ẹ wá ń ṣe bí omi òjò ẹ lè tún Nàìjíríà ṣe ẹ sẹ́kẹ̀ when I was kí ni nǹkan tẹ́ dánwò kí ni nǹkan tẹ́ ṣe nothing kò sí nǹkan kan tẹ́ ṣe lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ bàbá wa Jákàn ni ló ṣe gbogbo everything tó wà lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ nothing kò sí nǹkan kan tẹ́ ṣe lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ẹ̀yin ẹ boast of nǹkan tẹ́ ṣe lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ torí nígbà tẹ́ ti di president mo ti ẹ̀wọ̀n content máa kó wọn ní lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ yẹn o ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá wọ́n ti kọ́ private hospital wọ́n ti kọ́ government hospital bíi 10 wọ́n ti kọ́ 20 kì í ṣe pé ẹ̀ lówó láti kọ́ wọ́n ti kọ́ schools wọ́n ti kọ́ amusement park wọ́n ti kọ́ so many places ẹ̀ kó lè develop Nàìjíríà wọ́n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí industry ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣe lóríṣiríṣi kò sí kankan tẹ́ ṣe kí ni achievement yín àwọn Boko Haram wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí operate ẹ̀dẹ̀ ń sápẹ́ kínní ṣàpọ̀ bàbá tẹ́ palẹ́jọ́ mẹ́ta kì í ṣe pé ó kúkú cancer àtijọ́ tí màá yẹn tó ti lọ sí àwọn artillery kan mo ti mọ̀ pé yes wọ́n máa pa bàbá Lágbàjì bọ̀bọ̀ chief of army staff mo pe yan mo sọ fún wọn pé chief of army staff wọ́n máa pa mo nítorí pé kí ni gbogbo nǹkan tó ti lọ ṣe àwọn artillery tó ti pa tó yẹ kí wọ́n lè ṣiṣẹ́ pé kán pa àwọn Boko Haram within one month Gbà tí wọ́n pa nígbà tí wọ́n máa yẹn kú tán ẹni yẹn pè mí padà kó tó you said it when I said it because mo rí nǹkan tó ń lọ the day that man went for that kinní kan pé we have this we are very good on land we are ṣe kinní kan where is it adéhùn sọ pé yẹn sọ máa pa torí pé inú yóò dùn sí nǹkan tó dáa because you are doing business with all this kind of pé àwọn Boko Haram àti kinní kan àwọn kinní kan ara mi. Bàbá Bọ́lá Tinubu àmì mi ò ní kankan láti bẹ́ẹ̀ ní kankan sọ torí pé ẹ̀yin lẹ wà lórí oyè nísìnyí ni mo fẹ́ bá sọ̀rọ̀. Ìdí tí mo dẹ̀ fi ń pè tí mo pa kéèsì sí ni pé kẹ́ má believe bá ọmọ yín ò lè jẹ ìyà o kẹ́ má believe pé ìran yín kankan ò lè jẹ ìyà kẹ́ má believe pé ẹ ti ṣe ojú òtí dẹ́pọ̀ ojú tì yín ni ìyàwó yín odidi ìyàwó president lọ school of nursing wọ́n pariwo lé lórí kò délé kó sọ fọ́kọ ẹ̀ pé báyé wọ́n tó ìwà àbàjẹ́ ni wọ́n wù àwọn ti gbàgbé gbogbo eré tí wọ́n máa ń ṣe ń gbà yẹn ni wọ́n ti gbàgbé àwọn òrí yẹn sọ pé ọkọ mi ìlú ń dàrú o nǹkan táwọn ọmọ school of nursing sọ rí o nǹkan tí kinní kan sọ rí o táwọn ọmọ school of nursing lẹ́rí o wà láìtàlẹ́ abẹ́ lọ́bọ̀mí gan tẹ́ ẹ̀ mú security àwọn máa lẹ̀ lóko pa ni tẹ́ ẹ lọ́bọ̀mí torí pé ẹ̀ ń ṣe pé olówó ṣohun gbogbo tán ìyá ní àjọ ọmọ tálíkà ẹ ti gbàgbé pé ibìkan lẹ́yìn náà ti dìde o ẹ má gbàgbé Bọ́lá Tinubu Ahmed orúkọ tó ń jẹ́ yẹn ó yá ni ó yá ni ṣe mọ̀ pé tí wọ́n bá dẹ̀ da orúkọ yẹn àwọn olórúkọ á sì jẹ́ kí wọ́n máa yá lò ẹ̀yin ò tiẹ̀ wá lọ ní pé ìlú yín níbi ìrágbìyì kẹ̀tẹ̀ lọ tún ṣe kẹsọ́ di small London kẹ̀tẹ̀ pé mi ọmọ tó kàn ń lẹ̀ bí wọn ọ̀dẹ̀ kọ̀ yín bẹ́yìn lẹ̀ kọ́ra yín kẹ̀tẹ̀ òpin kì í tẹ̀ sọ́ di small London ẹ̀ ṣe yẹn ẹ̀ ń bá ara kàtí àkàkiri gbogbo lẹ̀ Yorùbá ó di nowhere to go nígbà táwọn àdàwà tá ìkéré kò sí tá a lè wọ bọ́ọ̀sì ní aago 6 tá máa débi tá a fẹ́ lọ play squash ní ìdájí kùtùkùtù ọjọ́ kejì. I play for my state, I play for your state, I play for Nigeria. Kí lẹ fi sán? Kò sí nǹkan kan tẹ́ fi sán náà. Ẹ̀yin bàbá òṣì, ẹ̀yin bàbá dáadáa, kò sí nǹkan tẹ́ fi sán. Àbí kẹ́ máa wọ ọmọ kéékèèké tẹ́ máa bá sùn káàkiri. Nígbà tí Yorùbá dẹ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ sọ pé ọmọ tẹ̀yìn sì jẹ́ èrò ṣe this sì ṣe kíní kan tẹ́ wá fún mi lórúkọ kan wọ́n pè mí ní controversial Tony. Àbẹ́ ti gbàgbé ìgbà kan sẹ́ẹ̀tì panel fún Dr. Káàdé Robert. Controversial Tony nǹkan lẹ́yìn pè mí báyìí. Nígbà tí a pé òótọ́ nígbà tí a èyí ro oríṣiríṣi but one thing I want you to know is this kò sẹ́dá tó máa ṣe nǹkan burúkú láyé yìí tó máa lọ bàbá wa Bọ́lá Tinubu Ahmed ẹ̀yin gbọ́dọ̀ mo bá sọ̀rọ̀ kò sí ẹni mi tí mo bá sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ ṣe eré ká lè rí nǹkan rẹ̀ sí you have every power to ṣe eré you have everything that takes Nàìjíríà tó máa fi dìde táwọn èèyàn kan bá wà tó bá sẹ́pà àwọn náà yọ yín lẹ́nu kó má ti jẹ́ kí Nàìjíríà dá ẹ kó gbogbo wọn sí kirikiri bàbá mi bá wà ń bẹ́ ẹ mú sí bí ìyá mi bá wà ń bẹ́ ẹ mú sí ọ̀rọ̀ tèmi ojú bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn lọ tí Nàìjíríà bá máa dalé ló wà lọ́wọ́ yín wọ́n ní pé charity begins at home láti kẹ́sọ̀rọ̀ dé ẹ̀yin ẹ jẹ́ ká kọ́kọ́ rí kẹ́ kọ́kọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọ̀dọ̀ àwọn fámìlì yín ó ti ń kẹ́ ṣe dáadáa ẹ ṣe ayé eré o bàbá Bọ́lá Tinubu Ahmed ẹ ṣe ayé eré ẹ ṣe ayé kẹ́ ṣe dáadáa kẹ́ ṣe eré tẹ́ bá lọ check background ti wa tẹ́ bá lọ check orúkọ tẹ́ bá lọ check wọn ti ṣe ọmọ burúkú náà mẹ́mi sí tẹ́ pé mi kò sí nǹkan tẹ́mi ò lè sọ èmi bú gọ́ọ̀nà àdìsárí o kò sí ẹni tẹ́mi ò bú rí mo bú gọ́ọ̀nà àtàlẹ́ yẹn mo tó bu lójú ẹ̀ kò tó dẹ̀ sọ fún mi pé torí mo bóun lọ́yìn mo bóun lójú mi gbọ́dọ̀ wọ gọ́ọ̀nà house wọ́n tún sọ fún mi pé yes tó you said the truth àwa máa ń sòótọ́ ẹ ṣáyé eré o wọ́n pa ọmọ Nàìjíríà wọ́n pa ọmọ Yorùbá wọ́n pa wọ́n gbogbogbogbogbò Sunday Igboho dìde ó fẹ́ kí ilé ọmọ lọ́mọ ẹnì kan lọ pa Ṣèyí Mákindé ọmọ club mi ní Ìbàdàn recreation club ó ti gbàgbé ẹ̀yin ẹ̀gbọ́n òṣèyìn ẹ̀gbọ́n rádaràda ẹ̀yin ẹ̀gbọ́n jàkùjàkù tẹ́pà òbí àtẹ́bá dín nǹkan rí ẹ ti ẹ máa yàtọ̀ kò sí yàtọ̀ láàrin yín ẹ̀sìn kò sí kankan tẹ́ ṣe wọ́n pa Yorùbá tọ́ máa pa Yorùbá tọ́ pa Yorùbá tọ́ pa tí gbogbo ẹ̀yin gọ́vnọ̀sì ilẹ̀ Yorùbá tẹ́ bá kóra yín.
Breaking fresh news. Nigeria Mumu government just break another record. Yeah, they just released over 300 Boko Haram terrorists back into the society. People that are supposed to wait, don't find. Innocent people are in the prison. You did not pardon them. Nigerian soldiers that are fighting the battle of this country back to back, they are not being taken good care of. Some of them, where we say they go join social media, now dismiss them. Some of them that you send to the war front, they are not being taken care of. No roof over their head, no good sleep, no good food. You don't care. But now they take proper care of Boko Haram terrorists that are supposed to be dead. You are taking good care of them. Now you want to push them back into the society. Nigerian soldiers, wherever you are listening to me, you are wasting your time. Yes, you are just wasting everything that you are supposed to use to contribute to your life and your family. You are wasting it for the so-called terrorist government that call themselves Federal Nigerian government. Yes, Nigerian government is a terrorist. End of the conversation.
This is a quick reminder to anybody that cares to know. I want you to know that Yahaya Bello is still moving freely, despite enough evidence of embezzlement and corrupt practices. He's still moving freely without a sentence. I equally want to bring to your notice that the former MD of the NDDC has alleged Akpabio to be involved in a lot of corruptions and shady deals. And he's the Senate President of Nigeria today. I equally want to remind you of the fact that the person that came out at a point in time to say he doesn't believe in one Nigeria is now the president of one Nigeria. I equally want to remind you that the list of the sponsors of terrorism was made available to the past administration, and they are sitting on it, and the present administration is not doing anything about that. I equally want to remind you as well that the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs was alleged to be involved in corruption and shady deals, which resulted to her sacking. So I want to tell you that she was only sacked, but not indicted. I also want to remind you that the Boko Haram members have been pardoned by the federal government. But Nnamdi Kanu has been facing terrorism charge for years now, and he's yet to be sentenced, and he's yet to be pardoned as well. I want to remind you as well that farmers in remote villages are still paying tax for them to be able to go to farm. Farmers in the villages are still paying levies to bandits for them to be able to go to farm. I want to remind you as well that according to Amechi, that the problem between Fubara and Wike that gave birth to the state of emergency was nothing but a disagreement over sharing formula of state resources. I want to remind you as well that the people trying to form a new coalition, a new alliance, are nobody but former members of PDP and the APC. I want to remind you as well that El Rufai was one of the major advocates of the Muslim ticket that gave birth to Tinubu. The same El Rufai now is the major advocate of a coalition that will get rid of Tinubu. I want to remind you as well that some of the cleric scholars, the imams, are still preaching the message of fanaticism and hatred. And I also want to remind you that some of the pastors are still preaching the message of fraud, scam, and delusive prosperity. I also want to remind you that the bill to ban open grazing that is associated with a lot of atrocities and a lot of illegalities is still experiencing a setback in the Senate House. I also want to remind you that it's only the Senate President of Nigeria that can send prayers into people's accounts in order for them to enjoy their weekends. I want to remind you as well that some of the general overseers have built schools and universities out of common people money, out of their tithe and their offering that their children cannot attend. I want to remind you too as well that a good number of Northerners believes that the Sharia is superior to the Constitution. I want to equally remind you that a lot of celebrities that the common man, we, have made millionaires and billionaires are yet to lend their voice in regards to the atrocities and the bad happenings that is happening in the country at the moment. I want to bring to your notice as well that the soldiers and the security agencies are still complaining of being shortchanged by the system. And nothing is yet to be done about that. I equally want to remind you that slots are still being given to politicians and political office holders in regards to recruitment and a lot of other things. I equally want to remind you as well that you have a voice in the midst of all this, only if you believe. I want to remind you as well in the words of Mahatma Gandhi that said, gently you can shake the wall. But I equally want to remind you that we Nigerians are very good at forgetting things and pursuing mirage. And I also want to bring to your notice as well that a lot will not share this, will not make this go round, and will still keep pursuing the mirage. Prove me wrong.
Let me begin with something you said in your press release today on behalf of Atiku Abubakar. You said that while President Tinubu dines on the chandeliers in the land of good governance, which presumably means France, the country he governs is spiraling out of control and into chaos. Is Nigeria spiraling into chaos?
We are living, all of us as citizens are living, Nigeria is happening to us. I mean, the state of insecurity has become endemic. Nothing seems to be working. But the most unfortunate, aspect of it all is that we have a president who has gone AWOL. Governance cannot be conducted on WhatsApp, Villa WhatsApp platform, or the internet, or the social media. Governance is conducted with the president having his boots, on the ground. Charles, this president traveled. I'm not aware, citizens were not aware that, the commander-in-chief has been ceded to the vice president. There is a limit to what the vice president can do. The Yorubas have a saying. They say, "Àìsínlò ológìní, nílé wa dílé èkúté." In the absence of the pussycat, the rat takes over. His absence does two things. One is going to enable all of these bad characters, to be able to continue to do what they're doing, to attack, to maim, to kill. His presence will give succor. It will give, it will give confidence to Nigerians. It's like your dad being away in a storm. There was a night, my wife and I woke up. It was a serious storm here in Abuja. And all of a sudden, we turned right and left. Our children had gathered into our room. And they were safe. The absence of the president, the commander-in-chief, does not give any succor, doesn't give comfort to citizens.
Well, his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, has issued a statement saying the president is in constant communication with key government officials and is overseeing critical national matters and is giving directives to security chiefs to address emerging threats. He didn't mention anything about WhatsApp or social media. That sounds like the ground is well covered.
Which ground?
Well, the ground that the president is oversees, which is
well
the state
covered,
of the nation.
If the ground is well covered, Charles, the last couple of days, we've had over 100 deaths arising from attacks in Benue and in Plateau, twice in Plateau State, in Boko's local government, and some other place. And the same thing is, is being replicated elsewhere. So what ground is he talking about? Maybe his portfolio needs to be changed to special advisor on misinformation and propaganda, because that is what it's all about. It matters less that the president has moved from France to the United Kingdom. Probably what may change is the menu. The French will probably have afforded them a different menu from what you probably will, have the benefits of a complete, British breakfast. Charles, this is appalling. The Nigerians are complaining about the absence of the president, and then he takes a flight from Paris to London. What does that change? And you are telling us that grounds are covered. No, sir. The grounds are not covered. We are being weighed down by the enormity, both the security challenges, the economic, challenges. Nigerians are worse off than they were 2 years ago.
I understand the symbolic need for a president to be around at a time of perceived crisis. But I mean, the president could be forgiven, this is what his aides say, for feeling somewhat beleaguered and wanting to take 2 weeks off to get some rest, recharge his batteries. His aides argue that he's been on full trot with the economy, politics, insecurity, and innumerable other issues, and that he deserves to take a fortnight off. But you don't think so?
Charles.
I mean, a fortnight, and when they mean fortnight off, they mean they call it a working visit. So he's not actually lounging at a beach drinking pina coladas. I mean, he's working whilst he's away. That's what they say. But clearly, you don't agree with that.
In 2024, former President Biden was in Delaware. And then he was forced to leave Delaware back to Washington because of a credible threat, Iranian threat against Israel, who are, partners of the US. In 2016, former President Barack Obama cut short his visit to Europe to go visit Texas because of shooting that claimed the lives of 5 policemen. Charles, we've had over 100 killings. And the president is out there reflecting. So you ask yourself, what is the reflection about? To see Nigerians die in their numbers, and he can't come home to empathize with them. I don't know what is going on, except there is more to what he's talking about. Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa, in 2019, he was in Egypt on a state visit, and there was energy crisis in South Africa, and he flew back to go and take charge of the situation. And this is the same president that in 2023 did say that he had banned, I think that was in April, it was to take effect April 1 of 2023. Maybe that was an April Fool prank, a joke. The president did say that official trips to be funded by government were banned, effective April 1, 2023. So what is the president reflecting on in France and now to the United Kingdom that he cannot do in Ekpe? There are results there.
Well, if it's a working visit, then potentially he may. No, let me just make the point.
Yes.
He may potentially, and I don't know because I don't speak for the government.
Yes.
But my job is to reflect the other side of the story, as you well know.
Yes.
And he may well be holding meetings in the United Kingdom that are crucial to the governance of this country. I mean, we don't know. They say that you and other opposition leaders, rather than actually trying to find out a bit more about what the president's working visit entails, that you, your principal, Atiku Abubakar, and other opposition leaders are simply picking at every opportunity to gain some political capital, and that you're swimming against a powerful tide. If that is the case, what prospect is there of turning that tide back in your favor ahead of 2027? Because the argument is basically that that's what all this is about.
The question I will ask is that what is the nature of the work that the president is doing in France and now the United Kingdom?
Well, I have no idea.
Now, you and I don't know. Because we have an irresponsible government. It is their duty to communicate to Nigerians. We don't need to go shopping to know what the president is doing. They have a responsibility to communicate to us. And they have not done that. And the reason is simple. They are trying to hide the real intent of why the president is where he is.
So what are they hiding?
I don't know.
So why would you then assume that they're hiding something?
No, because they said he's working. So you ask yourself, is it the work of meeting with a very junior official of the United States? Is that part of the work?
No, they said he was on a working visit. Working visit simply means that he's actually dealing with matters Nigerian. That means that he's working whilst he's away. I mean, you can be working whilst you're away. Journalists get sent on overseas trips and they go there and they're covering news and they're operating whilst they're in another country. I mean, potentially that could be the case. As I said, I don't speak for them, but I have to reflect the other side of the argument.
By the time this president returns from his visit, Charles, this president will have spent 59 days in just the nation of France. A nation that was built on the back of patriots. If that nation was not good enough, the president would not be going repeatedly to France. The question is, what is there in France? Is it to see France and die? Or to see France and then forget about the Nigerian people whom you have a responsibility to? I mean, what are we talking about? You have an absentee president, and you're trying to justify, that. I mean, does it think that Nigerians are fools? Nigerians are no fools. And it's not just Atiku Abubakar who is complaining about, the absence of the president. Nigerians in their numbers are saying that. I mean, they find this it's not acceptable to them. They want to feel, like I told you earlier, the presence of the president in the country will give confidence to the people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That would be the case, but obviously the governance involves also the international geopolitics.
What we are faced with now in Nigeria is an emergency. If the president could have declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, Nigeria is facing a dire situation, worse than the situation that we had that led to the state of emergency declaration in that state. So, therefore, you expect the president to cut short whatever trip and whatever working visit. Because is he going to, at the end of the walk, and come back and you will see the tombstones of Nigerians in their thousands, the same people he is reflecting about, and they have been killed? So who will you be presiding over? Dead men and women? Charles, this is not acceptable. And we must not justify this.
Mo jẹ́ ẹ̀jẹ́ fún orílẹ̀-èdè mi ilẹ̀ Odùduwà tó ń ṣàn fún wàrà àti fún oyin. Ilẹ̀ tó kún fún àwọn akọni ọgbọ́n ètò àti òye. Mo ṣe ìlérí gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ ológo ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀, ìtànṣán oòrùn láti la ayé já nílẹ̀ Áfíríkà, láti gbé ilẹ̀ Odùduwà lárugẹ. Mo pinnu láti fìmọ̀ ṣọ̀kan fún ìlọsíwájú ìran Yorùbá. Mo fọwọ́ sọ̀yà pé n kò ní dalẹ̀ tàbí ṣọ̀tẹ̀ sí ìṣọ̀kan àti ìtẹ̀síwájú orílẹ̀-èdè mi ilẹ̀ Odùduwà. Èmi yóò fi gbogbo ipá, ọkàn, iṣẹ́, ọgbọ́n àti ìṣe mi sin orílẹ̀-èdè mi ní òtítọ́ àti lódodo títí ọjọ́ ayé mi. Gbogbo ìyànjú àwọn akọni tó ti lọ kò ní já sófo láti ọwọ́ mi títí dé ìrandíran tí ń bọ̀ lẹ́yìn. Mo ṣe ìlérí pé ẹ̀sìn tàbí ìṣèlú kò ní yà wá nílẹ̀ Odùduwà. Tó bá wáyé bẹ́ẹ̀, mo lè lo ọ̀kan ẹ̀jẹ̀ tó kù sára mi láti fi ṣègbè àti jàjàgbara fún orílẹ̀-èdè mi. Ilẹ̀ Odùduwà, ìran Yorùbá, èdè kan, àṣà kan àti ìṣe kan ló so wá pọ̀ láéláé lágbára Elédùwà.